Hello, and welcome to the HarperCollins Children's Book Summer 2026 preview. I'm Sarah Hunter, Books for Youth and Graphic Novels editor at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful event today featuring special guests and a fantastic book list. So without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Mimi Rankin, Associate Director of the HarperStax team. Take it away, Mimi.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our HarperCollins Children's Book Summer 2026 Librarian Preview. Thank you so much to Booklist for hosting us and connecting us with so many wonderful librarians and educators across the country. My name is Mimi Rankin, and I'm the Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at HarperCollins Children's Books, and I'm joined today by Christina Carpino and Elisa Masco. A few notes before we start. We've sent a spreadsheet of our presented titles out before this webinar. Please feel free to use this to take notes about the books you hear about today. You can also download these titles from both NetGalley and Edelweiss. The full picture book PDFs are only on Edelweiss, but you can immediately access them by clicking the links on each entry, and you should be able to read the full PDF there. Next slide, please. Some exciting news. We hope to see many of you this summer at ALA Annual in Chicago, and we have an exciting announcement. You can enter for a chance to win a trip to ALA this summer to come celebrate HarperCollins Children's Book's 100th anniversary with us. There is a bit.ly link on the screen to enter for a chance to win and more information. So please come celebrate our birthday with us. All right, next slide. All right, we're going to get started with some picture books, but first I would like to introduce John Hare. John Hare worked as a production artist, graphic designer, and art director before realizing that he wanted nothing more than to bring stories to life for young readers. His popular debut picture book, Field Trip to the Moon, was called A Close Encounter of the Best Kind by Kirkus Reviews and was named to numerous Best of the Year lists. He is also the author-illustrator of the acclaimed A Mouthful of Minnows, one of my favorites, and Duck, Duck, Goose. In Stubby, John delivers illustrations that are inspired, action-packed, informational, expressive, and sure to have kids giggling and excited to reread. Please welcome John Hare.
Hi, everybody. I'm John, the illustrator of Sidra Mallory's newest book, as she was saying there. And I'm really excited about this one. But when Virginia Duncan, my editor with Green Willow, first approached me with this idea and told me it was about the life story of a pencil, from being a tree in the forest all the way to being a stubby little chewed up nub. I was like, that sounds amazing, but I wonder if I'm the right person for that. But then, like, on my first reading of the manuscript, right away, I was able to mentally picture like every scene. And I just loved it and identified with it so much. And so of course, I went ahead and took the gig. And I think the reason I liked it so much is because, and this probably isn't unique to me, but a lot of us illustrators, but I was the kid who sat in the back of the class with a stack of scrap paper and would use pencils all the way down to they were so stubby that they would fold that crease in your hand to where you couldn't even effectively write with them anymore. And then I would convert them to things like robots. I would take sewing pins and stick them in the eraser in the top and bend a couple more and put them in those little dimples in the ferrule to make little robot arms. They'd become swords and missiles for my GI Joes, but don't worry, Stubby is not weaponized at all in this book, thank goodness. But when it came to it, to picking out an art style, I I didn't have to think too hard about it, because when I read that last page and the big reveal there, little spoiler alert, that Stubby and his friend are the ones that had written this entire book you just read, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And so I went down into my basement and I found a box of old sketchbooks and notebooks that my dad had saved of stories I used to write when I was in grade school, because that's what us parents do, right? We save the kids' stories. So I just have tons of these old stories. And I just wanted to look at them and capture that feel of when you're a kid and you're excited to write a story, and you're so into it that your friends want to borrow the stories and read them. And it's just has this nice fun look, and they're of the time. The kids have like bubble Garfield eyes and ridiculous heads, and nothing's great, but it still feels like a kid did it and like it's fun. I just wanted to try to get that vibe. On the other hand, this could just be me justifying the fact that I'm not much better of an artist than I was when I was in grade school. That's a completely reasonable possibility. But right now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll show you some examples of some of these and some sketches from Stubby. And let's see here. And then I'll read a little bit from this book. Okay. So I didn't have time to make one. Oh, it went away. There we go. My screen is black.
It looks good to us, John. You can
you can see it?
The main character, correct? Yes.
Okay. There it is. Okay, got it. So yeah, so I didn't have time to fashion one of these pencils to show you guys, but when I was a kid, this is what I was talking about. I'd make robots out of Stubby pencils, so I just drew one real quick for you here. Here's some examples of stories that I found in this old box of books. The one on the left is Crossfire Crocodile. That was my favorite series. It was basically Magnum PI with a crocodile as the character. The Bounty Hunter, the Club Challenge, that was another series. You may note that all the kids that were cool had sunglasses on top of their heads for whatever reason, but with no arms to hold them there. I don't understand. But notice the bubble heads, the big goggly eyes, all that stuff. I wanted to just capture it. So even in these stories, the perspective wasn't great. Here's Crossfire developing film, action scenes. Here he is busting up some kind of I don't know, like a mafia deal or something. Some more perspective stuff, but you just kind of get the fun feel that I wanted to capture. And this is another thing too. I was obsessed with diagrams. Like I wanted to invent stuff, and I wanted the reader to know how it worked. Like Crossfire had this car that could fly. So I wanted the reader to understand how this car could fly, what exactly happened. And that's something that kind of carried over into Stubby too. I still like doing that in books. And also I liked aerial shots because I was big into the flying stuff like Top Gun and everything. So now you can see Stubby, and this is from Stubby. We got our aerial shot capturing that loose feel. We got our diagram showing how things work. There's the pencil factory. We got cool vehicles, just really quick sketches. That's how I'd like to get my ideas done, especially for stuff like that. Just really throw it down quick. We got awkward but useful perspectives. The bug eyes and expressions of comic book characters. And in fact, Stubby was kind of a challenge to come up with, because to get him to emote and express well, he didn't have arms or legs. And I didn't want to add that because parts of the story wouldn't make sense if he had arms or legs, but he still had to have enough personality that you felt like this was a sentient pencil. So I had a lot of fun developing this, and you can see where I kind of ended up here. And so now I'm going to just read a section of Stubby from the time that from the time that the tree is harvested by the machines to about the time they're dropped off in school, just to kind of give you guys a little taste of the story. I said goodbye to my spot in the woods. Goodbye, birds and bunnies. Goodbye, foxes and bears. Goodbye, bugs. Hello, world. I was moving fast. My truck passed cars, then trucks, then a truck full of cars. My world was getting bigger. And if you look in that blue truck by the purple truck at the far left, it's driven by ducks. Those are from Duck, Duck, Goose. At the timber yard, they trim my round sides. Tee-hee-hee. They sliced me into thin little planks. In our neat stack, we felt tidy and sleek. Whoa, where are we going now? This truck rattled and rolled us to the pencil factory. At the pencil factory, we lined up on a conveyor belt, a plank parade. First, a machine cut grooves in me. Then another machine squirted glue into my grooves. A giant wheel dropped graphite sticks onto the glue. Graphite's the gray part of me that writes. Look out, more glue! Another plank flopped on top of me. Oh, hello, we became a graphite sandwich. A saw cut me into shapes called hexagons. Some yellow paint, a little ferrule, that's my metal hat, and a happy pink eraser later, I became a pencil. Still, I was bigger then. I made 9 friends in our box of 10. One day, if we were lucky, we would get to write. Vroom, where are we going now? This truck rattled and rolled us to a big, bright store. We waited with the other school supplies, hoping to be picked. I tried to look as yellow and as useful as I could. There were so many hands. Adult hands holding lists, baby hands holding stuffies, gentle hands, rough hands, sticky with jam hands. Thankfully, the sparkly unicorn nail polish hands of Barbara Ann Brown chose me. She threw the 10 of us into her cart, along with 2 notebooks, 1 purple folder, and an eraser shaped like a pig. On the first day of school, Barbara Ann put on her new outfit. The other pencils, the pig and I danced around in her pencil box. And so that gives you an idea. You'll have to wait and see how the school day goes. And let me turn off my sharing here if I can. And all right, we back?
Yes, John, that was wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I know everyone is ready to see the rest of Stubby's story, and it is truly such an informational and inspirational story. So thanks so much for being with us here today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Awesome. Okay. Well, now we get to talk a little bit more about the other picture books that are on this amazing list. So first I want to talk about Bear for a Day. So if you were a bear for a day, what would you do? Probably wake up, eat breakfast, go for a motorcycle ride, and rescue your best friend from a rogue hot air balloon, normal bear stuff. Dynamically illustrated from the bear's perspective, the Caldecott Honor and 3-time Geisel Award-winning Corey R. Tabor delivers an innovative and crowd-pleasing picture book that features his signature and truly outstanding Tabor turn. This funny, mischievous, and surprising picture book about creativity, friendship, where ideas come from, and the fun of using your imagination will be a hit at home, at story times, and in classrooms. And then I believe the next slide we have a video about The Skeleton and the Cat, which is one I'm very excited about. It's a humorous and touching tale of the unexpected friendship that blossoms between a peaceful skeleton and a persistent cat. Think Frog and Toad meets I Want My Hat Back. So we have a message from author Brandon James Scott.
Hi, my name is Brandon James Scott, and I am the author and the illustrator of The Skeleton and the Cat, which is a book that is coming out this summer. And it is a book about a skeleton, a cat, friendship, gardening, stargazing, sandwiches, and, last but not least, books, books, books. It is a very special book for me. On one hand, it's my author debut, but on the other hand, it's based on a personal illustration project of mine. Years ago, I sat down each day and I made a picture with a skeleton and a cat in it. And then I came back and did it again the next day and the next day. And years later, I ended up with hundreds of these illustrations of these two. And I kind of fell in love with these characters and I wanted to do more with them. So we turned it into a book. And now we're making more books. And I think they're amazing. And I hope you do too. Thank you for your interest in checking them out. I hope you read them. I hope you love them. And I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brandon. It is absolutely adorable. Definitely make sure it is in your carts. Next slide, please. All right, so we've got some really hilarious picture books. We know that an important aspect of social emotional learning is laughter and finding the humor in things. So we have a really wonderful campaign called Read Out Loud, Laugh Out Loud. And one of the first ones I want to talk about has one of the best, opening lines or lines in the books. It is nighttime and I am loose. In this new picture book by beloved Spider in the Well author Jess Hannigan, a naive cow, followed by her exasperated guardian cat, heads out into the night to find new friends and adventure and is swept away on a journey that is out of this world. If you are not aware of Jess Hannigan's books, they are some of truly the funniest picture books I've ever read. Definitely make sure you read her collection. Then we have The Dumped Truck. That is right, The Dumped Truck. Grumpy Monkey meets Little Blue Truck in this humorous rhyming picture book about a dirty truck who is cast out by the other toys for doing his job, created by Daniel Bernstrom and Pura Belpré award-winning artist Marcelo Verdad. Then we have I Used to Be a Dinosaur. Did you know that chickens are descendants of dinosaurs? A soon-to-be mother hen just found out, and now she is re-examining her entire life. She used to be a dinosaur, a prehistoric queen with a mighty roar. Now she spends her day on a farm waiting for her eggs to hatch. It is downright foul. At least it is until she decides to summon her own inner dinosaur. This award-winning author and artist pair is a comedic dream team. A Spoonful of Frogs author Casey Lyles read aloud text is rhythmic and sassy, and Geisel Award winner Lori Keller brings her signature zany sense of humor and irresistible energy to the expressive chicken and her dinosaur dreams. The result is a storytime pleaser that gets sillier with every page turn. And then finally, we have Hugo's hair. All Hugo wants is one thing, to have a head full of hair. But where to begin? What to choose? And what if nothing feels quite right? From braids to mullets and crops to mohawks, join Hugo on this hair-raising, rhyming adventure about identity, loving who you are, and finding the perfect hairdo. All from amazing mind of debut author-illustrator James Alfie. Next slide, please. Some more silly read-alouds. We have from Angela and Tony DiTerlizzi, who are the best-selling husband and wife team behind a very cranky book. They have crafted a new tale that is both a friendship story and social emotional fable. It's the perfect reminder that sometimes good friends can come in unexpected packages in a very scary book. So great for Halloween time. And then Spaghetti Head and Chicken Fingers. This is from the creators of the most watched daily show on the internet, Good Mythical Morning. And yes, Spaghetti Head and Chicken Fingers, you heard that right. It is a hilariously relatable picture book about what happens when you are what you eat, literally. From Rhett McLaughlin and Link Neal comes this hilarious, relatable tale about friendship, picky eating, and daring to try something new. Next slide, please. All right, so we have some favorite characters and new books and formats. First, we have Little Blue Truck Lost and Found. This is a new full-length picture book in the beloved Little Blue Truck series. It's a fun day on the farm with the #1 New York Times bestselling Little Blue Truck and Friends until Toad goes missing. So new full-length picture book. You'll definitely need to add that to the collection. We have a new mini paper overboard gift book for friends, Fall Days with Frog and Toad. If you are fans of Frog and Toad, which I know we all are, it's perfect for the collector's shelf or as a sweet gift for that person who loves Frog and Toad. And then I'll Love You Till the Sloth Starts School. It's a perfect combo of unconditional love and first day of preschool in this sweetly funny board book from Catherine Cristaldi and Christina Litton, and they are the team behind I'll Love You Till the Cows Come Home. So great for back to school. Next slide, please. Oh, this one is absolutely stunning. I absolutely love this book. From acclaimed author Shantae Grant and Caldecott Honor-winning artist Daniel Minter comes a stunning picture book in which a young girl dives to uncover a sunken slave ship. Expressive verse and beautiful artwork serve as a tribute to both heritage and history while shining a light on the real divers who explore these shipwrecks. And to convey the feeling of descending to the depths of the ocean, this book is meant to be read vertically. It is very cool if you like experimenting with format when you're reading picture books, especially. Look at that stunning art. Next slide, please. All right, we also got some really great nonfiction on this list. So from Associate Justice of the Supreme Court Neil Gorsuch comes an exploration of America's founding fathers and the document that started it all, the Declaration of Independence, great for America's 250th. And then we also have Spree. This is a debut picture book biography about Spree Simon, a young boy from Trinidad who brought the iconic steel pan to the attention of the world, from Trinidadian author and artist Celeste Muhammad and Corey Thomas. Spree celebrates innovation, collaboration, history, and music. Next slide, please. Got some really wonderful books. I know summertime, you're going to want kids getting outside. So we have really great books to read outside, celebrating the outdoors. So first, Joanna Ho, New York Times bestselling author of Eyes That Kiss in the Corner, returns with another sweet, funny picture book about summertime outdoor adventures and the unforgettable memories often made along the way in A Room with a View. And then Gifts from Crows, based on the true story of a girl and the crows in her backyard. This adventure explores the mysteries of friendship across species. This is creative nonfiction at its best by bestselling creators Gideon Starer and Shaidra Strickland. Gideon is a rising picture book star. His books often focus on relationships between humans and animals and the profound magic that results in those relationships. He's definitely somebody to watch. And then we have Kaleidoscope of Hope. A kaleidoscope is a tube with mirrors that reflect pieces of colored material in beautiful moving patterns, but it is also the collective noun used to describe a group of butterflies. This narrative nonfiction picture book uses both definitions to highlight the cyclical nature of caring for the environment. With each stage of the butterfly's life comes a new lesson in care and responsibility, encouraging hope for the future of our planet. In this richly layered text, acclaimed author Miranda Paul explores each stage of a butterfly's life cycle while also inspiring readers to take action to protect the world around them. With hope, growth, change, preparation, and exploration, anything is possible. Husband and wife team Harry and Deepti use intricate paper sculptures and paint to bring the butterflies and the kaleidoscopes to life in stunning three-dimensional artwork. And then finally on this, this is the great part of working in children's books. You get to read titles like this, Do Bees Pee? This silly and informational picture book explores how ecosystems work and celebrates the interconnectedness of nature. It is perfect for just that youngest reader who's really going to find this entertaining. And it pairs bright graphic art and short laugh out loud text to explore closed loop, waste-free systems and celebrate the interconnectedness of the natural world. Great conversation starters. And then next slide, please. Some also really great reads to read when it's raining outside. First, Poppy. It is so sweet. Poppy loves umbrella. With umbrella in hand, she knows she can face any kind of weather. But one day, the wind blows and blows and blows. And with the wind, umbrella goes whoosh. Following the wind and rain, Poppy searches everywhere for umbrella, but she just might find something beautifully unexpected along the way. Accompanied by gentle illustrations subtly highlighting the beauty of nature, follow Poppy as she learns how to lovingly let go and to face the world with her own inner courage. And then we also have Sunshine in the Monsoons, with illustrations by Archana Shri Nivashan and Tina Atai's Sunshine in the Monsoons is a moving grandmother-grandchild picture book that reminds us to look for the silver lining even in the biggest storm clouds. Next slide, please. All right, so looking just ahead of Hispanic Heritage Month, we wanted to celebrate some really amazing Latina creators. So in author illustrator Cynthia De La Torre's debut picture book with vibrant cut paper art, Galena can't help but picture her late tia Luz Maria as a terrifying calavera. Until their happy memories make death seem not quite so scary. This is a perfect book for Dia de los Muertos or for young readers learning about grief. It's an absolutely beautiful exploration and explanation of death. And then so many questions. This is inspired by the author's own abuelita, and this is a tribute to becoming a U.S. citizen, and it follows a young girl who helps her grandmother prepare for America's citizenship test. This picture book is a tribute to the hard work it takes to become a U.S. citizen. It's based on the author's own grandmother, and who achieved her dream of becoming a U.S. citizen after 50 years in the United States. The sweet, child-friendly approach to the complicated topic of immigration is sure to be a hit with readers and gatekeepers alike. And then finally, The Huntsman and the Witches. In the third book in the Everlasting Tales collection, Abraham Matias retells the darkly whimsical Mexican folktale of an arrogant hunter who ends up in a cabin full of hungry witches, with illustrations by Caldecott Honor-winning illustrator Molly Mendoza. Back matter is included and includes an author note and a condensed tale in Spanish for bilingual readers. Next slide, please. And we also have some bilingual books in both English and Spanish. First, Fix It Familia, this bilingual edition of the Fix It Familia from the creators of Paletero Man. Latin Grammy winning musician Lucky Diaz and celebrated artist Micah Player comes a story about a boy and his family who have all the right tools to help their community. Then we also have a new book from beloved author Raoul III. In this brightly colorful bilingual Spanish and English board book from New York Times bestselling author Raoul III, join Coco Rocho from the world of Vamos as he celebrates what his father means to him. Next slide, please. All right, more celebratory books about family. First, Spendin' Time from Gary Gray Jr., who is absolutely spectacular. This is a rhythmic and joyful tale about a young boy who runs errands with his grandfather in town by critically acclaimed author Gary Gray Jr. If you read I'm From, and award-winning artist Rahel Jampour Bell. Then next we have The Home We Dreamed. From soil to straw to bricks, readers will follow along with a couple living in communist Romania who build their own home, raise a family, and watch, spread by spread, as the world around them changes. Narrated by the future grandchild of this couple, the story shows multiple generations raised in this home, the environmental and political changes happening around its plot of land, and the continuous love sprouting from its walls. And then next we have Free to Fly. In a treehouse by the sea, a grandfather shares the story of how he kept his dreams alive with the most precious dream of all, that of his future grandchild. Hope takes flight in this tender and soaring picture book by author Karina Iceberg and illustrator Steph Littlebird, who share a story of native resilience and love that spans generations, both those past and to come. Then we have Honeybird Blue, which is a cheeky and colorful debut picture book about a father-daughter birding adventure, illustrated by Coretta Scott King honor winner Raisa Figueroa. Next slide, please. All right, some more social emotional learning books. We have something new from Beth Ferry, perfect for the youngest picture book audience. This is the first title in the Paper Overboard series about Turtle, his toolbox, and teamwork with a loyal group of friends. We also have The Upside Down Girl. So this is from the acclaimed creator of Mary Wears What She Wants and Tough Guys Have Feelings Too. It's a silly and sly investigation of what happens when one girl dares to take her time to do her own thing. Then we have Face to Face. So this is celebrated Boston Globe Horn Book honor-winning author Dinah Johnson and debut artist Kayla Mahaffrey. And it presents a joyful and empathetic and gorgeously illustrated ode about the power of connecting with someone face to face. Then we have The Power of Our. So learn a clever and concise lesson about the importance of sharing in Zora Neale Hurston's stunning and layered African-American folktale, retold by #1 New York Times bestselling and National Book Award winning author Ibram X. Kendi and illustrated by Dana Ajida. This accessible and sizable board book is perfect for introducing the youngest of readers to the beauty of Hurston's storytelling. And if you haven't seen the other adaptations of Zora Neale Hurston's works that we've created with Dr. Kendi, we also have The Making of Butterflies, which is a board book, Barracoon, which is adapted for middle grade readers, and Magnolia Flower, which is a picture book. Next slide, please. So we have new formats of some really beloved books. So first, of course, Owen. Owen is Every Child, said a Booklist starred review, and now it is in paperback. This is a classic evergreen Caldecott honor and Boston Globe Horn Book Award honor picture book, about comfort and compromise. And it is now in paperback and includes a letter to readers from Kevin Henkes. Then we also have The Quiet Book now as a board book and explore the many kinds of quiet in this board book edition of the irresistibly charming and New York Times bestseller from Deborah Underwood. Next slide, please. We're getting to the end. So I'm hoping you are all familiar with I Can Read, which as we celebrate HarperCollins Children's Books 100th anniversary, I Can Read is clearly a pillar of that, of helping little ones learn to read through the last several years. And I want to talk about I Can Read Phonics. So this is a new line that we have. And one of the first ones we have is Pete the Cat and the Family Tree. And I Can Read, I Can Read Phonics is designed to help kids learn to read with phonics concepts through simple, engaging stories starring the kids' favorite characters and properties. Level 1 phonics titles focus on short vowel sounds and consonant blends. Level 2 on long vowel sounds and consonant digraphs, and level 3 on complex vowels. Each book includes a parent letter with tips on how to use these books to teach kids how to read, as well as front matter introducing the words and sounds in the story. The line was designed to help kids learn to read with phonics concepts through simple, engaging stories. And every I Can Read book is a minimum of 80% decodable using the concepts taught in the book's phonics level or the phonics levels before. And every book has been vetted by a phonics expert. So between Little Critter and Pete the Cat, you've got some familiar faces to help develop phonics skills. Next slide, please. Some more from I Can Read. So Biscuit, if you can believe it, is turning 30 this year. Biscuit is a millennial. We also have I Want to Be a Farmer and new from Girl Scouts, Amazing Daisies. So always new great titles to come from I Can Read. And I believe that finally rounds out picture books for me. So now we are on to middle grade. Next up, we are so pleased to welcome Newbery honoree, Prince honoree, National Book Award finalist, and the best-selling and beloved author of more than 40 books, Gary D. Schmidt. In his newest book, STYX and Stones, co-authored with another children's literature titan, Ron Curdige, we meet two kids from completely different worlds and times for lovers of fantasy, adventure, and Greek mythology. STYX and Stones has received 3-starred reviews already from PW, Booklist, and just in from SLJ that says STYX and Stones grabs readers from page 1 and takes them on a witty, heartfelt, and memorable ride. It is an essential purchase for all middle grade collections. Here to tell us more, please welcome Gary D. Schmidt.
Hello. It's really good to be with you. Very sweet to be with you all. Thanks for being part of this. It's also very sweet just to listen to that series of books that Mimi has just gone through. I'm sitting here taking notes and thinking, how many of these can I afford? But it's really exciting to see all of those. So Sticks and Stones is kind of a long time coming. Ron Kirchie and I began to teach at Hamline University's MFA program in writing for children a long time ago. We taught there for 10 years or so. And we did a lot together. We taught together. We planned together. We went on long walks together. We roomed together. We never did anything beyond the New York Times crossword puzzle in terms of writing together. And so we never even thought about that. But not long ago, Ron got a rather disappointing letter from an editor that he was working with. And he gave me a call and we sort of commiserated on all the kind of difficulties of publishing these days. And I finally said to him, Ron, let's just screw that. Let's just do a book together. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, let's just do one together. And so I sent him 4 ideas. And probably within 20 minutes after I sent the 4 ideas, he was to choose one. Ron wrote back and said, let's do them all. And so we are in the long-term project of doing 4 books together, which is fantastic to do. My difficulty with it is that Ron is very fast as a writer. He used to work for TV. I am not fast. And so it's been an interesting dynamic to write Sticks and Stones and the other books that we're working on as well. Sticks and Stones started out in a really kind of unusual place, and that is the Peloponnesian Wars. I know you all have a copy of Thucydides right by your desk all the time, that you peruse Thucydides is 600 pages all the time, and you're quite familiar with it. That's great. This book came sort of out of that. And the Peloponnesian Wars, of course, are between Sparta and Athens. And so the idea of the book was, suppose we have a kiddo who is killed in the Peloponnesian Wars. Many of the soldiers were very, very young. He is Athenian. He's killed by a raid against Athens by the Spartans and goes down to Hades. What happens next? I mean, it feels like that's the end of the story, but suppose it isn't. Suppose Simon is really eager when he's down in Hades, first off, not to drink from the river Lethe, which is going to make him forget everything, but instead to find his way out. And so for 2,500 years, this kiddo, Simon, is struggling to find a way out of Hades until he finally gets what's rather kind of obvious. How do you get out of Hades? Well, you make friends with a dog. That's the problem. So why not make friends with a 3-headed dog? And that's what he does. He finally figures that out, meets the dog, is kind to the dog. He's surprised by that, the dog is. And finally, the dog lets him go by. He crosses the 5 rivers. He meets Diogenes with his lantern, uses the lantern to head up a long set of stairs. And then that leads to the image that Ron and I both started with, the image that we thought was hysterically funny and that we used to begin the book in a way. He goes through the iron door, comes into a lighted place, pushes through another steel door, and turns out that he is in the seventh grade boys' room of a school in Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's another kiddo over by the sinks who turns to him as he comes out of one of the stalls, and the first line of dialogue in the book is that kid's, and his line of dialogue is, "Dude, you've got to get some clothes on." And that became the opening for us. The tension starts when Simon, who is Athenian, looks across at this kid, and you can probably guess the logo on this kid's shirt. He is, in fact, their logo, the school logo, is the Spartans. And so it seems like you're going to have a problem right from the very beginning. The story seemed to us to lead to some really interesting questions. Who's the other kid? This other kid who's seeing Simon here. What role is he going to play? It can't just be a kind of guide. It's got to be bigger than that. So what would that be like? Here's Simon. He's from Athens 2,500 years ago. How does he acclimate to this whole new world? Everything is so incredibly different, to cars, to streets the way they are, to the houses that we live in, to the clothing that we have, to the way a school is run, to the way the school speaks about the classical myths. How does he acclimate to all of that and survive that? Also, what happens down in Hades when the god Hades discovers, dang, one of my guys has just gotten away? It's only happened a few times, and those of you who know the myths will remember who does get out, and it's not the great hero this time. What is God Hades going to do when he discovers that this soul has, in fact, escaped him? And Ron's brilliant idea on this, and one of the ones that really set up the conflict, is this one. Well, Hades is going to send a demon after Simon. So as Simon is struggling with who he is in this particular world and how he's going to survive it, he also discovers that there is a demon who is on her way to try and bring him back. What will that look like? So obviously, this is a book set in middle school, and everyone that's listening to me knows that middle school is its own particular kind of hell, or can be, certainly. Garrison Keillor talks about high school as the small fixed universe. Great description. But if a high school is like that, oh my gosh, a middle school is even more like that small fixed universe. So this book has to be about that on some level. Otherwise, it just feels like a fun gig. But how is it that this is going to mirror that? So in some ways, this book is about two things. How do we find in middle school that place where we can grow and flourish? How does that happen? How do we find that? Because remember how hard middle school is, how we often find ourselves as if we're in the wrong place. That somehow this place that I'm in isn't quite right. Not necessarily the whole school, but certainly parts of it. For me, it was shop. I could never figure out how to manipulate anything in shop. For other kids, it's going to be gym. It's going to be the biology classroom, or it's going to be the principal's office, or it's going to be sitting in an audience watching the spring play, feeling that you were sort of cheated out of being one of the kids on stage. All of us during middle school are always trying to find that place where we're growing and flourishing, and also recognizing that there are places where we're not. And this is a story about kids who are dealing exactly with that particular problem. After all, as writers, writers for young readers, what do we do but go back into our own experience and try and bring what we learned and what we did during those years and bring them into the book where it's appropriate. We're always in middle school trying to find the right place. The second thing that's true about the book, I think, about what it's about, is that really is a book about goodness. What does goodness, really healthy, strong goodness look like? When is it powerful? When is goodness powerful? We know when evil is powerful. When is goodness powerful? And how do we learn to embrace goodness even when it might not be in our obvious self-interest? And obviously, in that sense, this is a story about our times right now. What does goodness look like? How can it be powerful in the terms of where we are right now? The dramatic question of the story is a simple one. Does Simon get to stay above in the above world, or does Simon get caught and go back to Hades? And I think perhaps from what I just said, you might guess what happens to him at the end. After all, where will his goodness do the most good in his experience? Where is it going to do the most good? And so it's, I hope, a fun story, a fascinating glimpse about the Greek myths in a different way or a different angle at it. I hope it's a page turner as well. So thanks for listening, folks.
Thank you so much, Gary. Hi, everyone. My name is Elise Damasco, and I'm the School and Library Marketing Coordinator, here to share some of our upcoming middle grade titles. Next slide, please. To start, I am so excited to talk about The Second Life of Snap by the one and only Erin Entrada Kelly. She has been an absolute powerhouse in the middle grade space, with 2 Newbery medals under her belt, and most recently, a Cybert honor this year for her debut nonfiction book, At Last She Stood. In The Second Life of Snap, 12-year-old Zuzu doesn't want a robot. She'd rather explore Bright Valley with her friends, who call themselves the Valley Cats. But then Zuzu meets Snap, a know-it-all guardian robot with a limited battery life and an abundance of hope. This gripping standalone survival story will be the perfect pick for fans of the wild robot and a rover's story. And it just got its 5th star review this morning from SLJ, who says that it's a dystopian fiction at its finest and an excellent addition to any upper elementary or middle school library. Next slide, please. Okay, next we have 2 books for our horror lovers. First, we have Creepy Kid. It's one thing to see ghosts, and then it's another one to have one for a roommate. Creepy Kid is a hilariously spooky page-turner featuring a macabre-obsessed kid who moves into a haunted house, only to find that communing with the other side might be a little bit more than he bargained for. And don't be totally fooled by the creepy cover. This is also a heartfelt exploration of grief, moving on, and finding one's place in the world. And the next, in the 4th installment in the Tales from Cabin 23 series, Newbery Honor-winning author Darcy Little Badger draws on Lipan Apache folklore. In this spine-tingling tale, children find themselves trapped in a decrepit mansion and discover there is something sinister lurking in there with them. Next slide, please. Okay, I think it is easy enough to fall in love with Wombat Waiting just from its cover alone, but I'll give you a little bit more than that. We have a brand new standalone middle grade novel in verse from Katherine Applegate. Wombat isn't actually a wombat, but when the homeless dog is discovered after a terrible fire, someone tags her with a nickname and it sticks. Surrounded by a devastated town, Wombat takes up residence on a bench near the makeshift community center. No matter what, Wombat refuses to move from her perch, despite the efforts of many humans. Clearly, the dog is waiting for someone. But for whom? Fans of modern classics like Because of Winn-Dixie, timeless tales like Charlotte's Web, and Katherine Applegate's Own Otter will find a friend in Wombat and her story. Next slide, please. Okay, and if Wombat didn't already melt your heart, here's some more heartfelt reads. First, as a composer, lyricist, and author, Julia Rue is a person of many talents. We can't wait for you to dive into her middle grade debut fantasy, Shimchung Takes the Dive, which is based on Julia's viral TikTok musical. In it, a tween finds herself on an epic adventure across an underwater kingdom, inspired by Korean folklore. Amid all of the action and adventure, there's also some great emotional depth as Chung navigates grief and growth. And then for fans of Christine Day and Cynthia Leitich-Smith, Raven Rising is a debut novel following Raven, a Cherokee girl who, after the tragic loss of her parents, tries to acclimate to difficult social dynamics in her new school and a curious magic that her mother may have passed down to her. This book will leave readers feeling strong enough to handle whatever conflicts may come their way. And then lastly, you may know Goldie Moldavsky from her wide array of fantastic YA books, including Kill the Boy Band and the Mary Shelley Club, but this time she's here with a summery middle grade read. In On the Road to Happy, an 11-year-old girl spends a transformative summer in upstate New York in a Jewish bungalow colony, where she makes friends and connects with her family and immigrant heritage. That is, of course, if her plan to run away doesn't work out. Next slide. And then speaking of summer, here are 2 great titles now available in paperback that will be perfect additions to your summer reading lists. First, we have A Wolf Called Fire, which is the standalone companion to Roseanne Perry's A Wolf Called Wander. It tells the story of a wolf named Worm, who may not be the strongest or the biggest in the pack, but finds the heart of a true leader within himself. And then Strange Happenings is the perfect cozy spooky middle grade read, with eerie tales from Newbery medalist Avi. This edition is illustrated for the first time and includes a never-before-published story and an author's note. Next slide. Okay, next we have some great middle grade graphic novels. So we cannot get enough of Aaron Hunter's Warriors, and if your middle grade readers can't get enough either, fear not, there is plenty of new and upcoming Warriors content to go around. This summer, you'll be able to get your hands on the next graphic novel adaptation, this time covering the first two novels of the second arc, The New Prophecy. And then we have Squallow and Mage, which is the debut graphic novel by Kara Bodoguan Hekiro. In this epic fantasy duology opener, tailored towards fans of games like Pokemon and Final Fantasy, Mage and her shark best friend Squallow set off on a wild adventure filled with mythical and powerful creatures from Filipino folklore. And then last, we have the Band of Bigs. Last year, Casey Lyle and Sarah Faber brought us the hilarious League of Littles, and now all of us eldest siblings, myself included, can find ourselves in the Band of Bigs, a group that defends and protects the interests of big siblings around the globe. Short and action-packed, this is a great pick for reluctant readers and fans of Bad Guys and Baby Mouse. Next slide. Okay, so we have a fantastic campaign called Classics Gone Graphic, which is classic books, including modern classics, that are now available in graphic novel format. So first, pack your bags because we are headed back to Genovia with the graphic novel adaptation of The Princess Diaries. It's been over 25 years since Meg Cabot's original book, and we can't wait for you to share this one with both new and die-hard fans. And then for our fantasy and adventure lovers, re-explore, or enter for the first time, the world of 100 Cupboards in this brand new graphic novel adaptation of a middle school favorite from beloved author N.D. Wilson and award-winning illustrator Forrest Dickinson. Next slide. And then finally, we can't talk about middle grade classics without mentioning The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Here we have a brand new, beautiful deluxe limited edition of this timeless novel. And then I will pass it back to Mimi.
Thanks, Elise. So I'm so excited to introduce Byron Graves. Byron made their debut in 2023 to resounding acclaim. Resball is a Boston Globe Horn Book Award honoree, CCBC Choice Book, and winner of the William C. Morris Award and the American Indian Library Association Youth Literature Award. Resball has also won honors and awards on 17 state award lists so far. With Medicine Wheels, their newest book, Graves' breakout talent shines brighter than ever. It just received a star review this week, and we can't wait for you all to read Medicine Wheels, so please help me welcome Byron Graves.
Hey, thank you so much, Mimi. I am super excited to share my new book, Medicine Wheels. No pressure at all after Resball, right? You win all those awards, get a bunch of great reviews, and then they're like, hey, go follow that up. But I think I did an incredible job. And with that, a huge part of what informed writing this book was doing school visits for probably like that first year following Resball, and some of the incredible questions that I got asked by students and librarians and teachers, and some of the thoughts and feelings and ideas I had after leaving that, and with so many new topics and so many more things to kind of think about, so I could write a richer, deeper story this time. So let me tell you a little bit about Medicine Wheels. It's about this Indigenous teenager named Bryce who feels lost and alone, hopeless after this series of events turns his world upside down the summer before his junior year of high school. Bryce ends up returning to the reservation where he grew up, and he reconnects with his childhood friends and family. He reluctantly picks up skateboarding because his couple of best childhood friends, that's all they do is skate. But he quickly falls in love with the rush of skateboarding and the speed, the challenge of learning new tricks, and the satisfaction. And I think this is really important and really inspiring for teenagers, is that satisfaction in getting incrementally better at something that you're really excited or into or interested in. So skateboarding for Bryce during this summer becomes this beautiful distraction for him that helps him sort through his feelings and his emotions. It becomes, I like to say, his lighthouse for granting that newfound inner confidence that he really was missing and he really needed. It becomes a chance for him at the end of the book to shine in this first annual skate tournament where him and his friends ends up facing off against these bullies that had been harassing them all summer. One thing I preach a lot when I go do visits and I get asked for any sort of writing advice, is write what you know. That was a heck of a lot easier for me when I wrote Resball. I had grown up playing basketball. That book's almost semi-autobiographical in a lot of ways with my high school basketball experience. So when it came to telling that story, I knew what it felt like to be down by 1 with 5 seconds on the clock with a gymnasium full of people cheering, or I knew what it felt like to be working on your jump shot on a hot summer day. So I was able to bring all those dynamics and all that like knowledge to Resball. So with Medicine Wheels, I didn't want to be a poser, as they would say in skate culture. So it was during the heart of the pandemic, and I was alone and going through some tough things emotionally. And as I was trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do for book 2? And I wanted to not stray too far from a YA Indigenous sports-related book, but I knew I wanted to almost flip it on its head. And I had always loved skateboarding. And skateboarding so counterculture and so opposite of a high school basketball star or a football star. So I started to get kind of interested in that. So I stepped on a skateboard, and it was love at first sight, basically. But it quickly became my escape, and it became my obsession. It became something I looked forward to every morning. I did bust my butt a couple dozen times, not gonna lie, but I couldn't wait to get back on my board. The wind flowing through my hair, a smile on my face, my troubles temporarily forgotten. So when I sat back down at my laptop, I knew I wanted to share that through the perspective of a teen character, and how important that was for me, and how much growth I had because of it. Medicine Wheels is a story of reconnection, of healing, of learning. It's the power of self-discipline when you couple it with passion and fun. Again, going to those teen readers, I think that's an important message for them to know, to do both, have that hard work, but also make sure you keep that focus on fun. I hope it finds its way into the hands of teen readers. I think it can be a book that really inspires them. Going back to what I was talking about like the questions I got and how that informed the topics and the aspects of this book. I wanted to show the diversity in Native American culture. Resball was very myopic. It took place and centered on a fictional version of my reservation. This one is a fictional reservation, but it is based on one near where I grew up at, where there was a wider variety of people attending that school and living on and around that reservation. So you see all these different characters. I also got asked a lot about, just Native American life, Native American history, and our current contemporary experiences. So I also built a lot of characters that are from all walks of life. So there's Native Americans who have a lot of money, Native Americans who don't, Native Americans from a reservation near a city. So you're getting all these different perspectives from all these different characters. We have Hispanic representation in this book. We have LGBTQ representation in this book. It's a summertime book, which I love. So we mentioned that earlier about how great summertime books are. So kids who are sitting in school are going to be able to go see the 4th of July fireworks show and have movie or video game nights with their friends and float down a lazy river. So even though there's some serious heavy topics in this book, I also, if you're old enough to remember that line from the Bare Naked Lady song, I'm the kind of guy who laughs at a funeral. That's sort of my writing style. I want to have something that is real and dramatic and meaningful, but also have humor in it and fun and action in it. So that's Medicine Wheels. I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Byron. And now I'm going to have 1 week stuck in my head for the entire rest of the day. So thanks for that as well. I'm Christina Carpino. I'm the assistant manager here on the school and library team, and we can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you about our teen books. So maybe you know Alana K. Arnold from her Sidney Taylor and National Jewish Book Award winner, The Blood Years, or the Prince Honor winner, Damsel, or the National Book Award finalist, What Girls Are Made Of, or maybe the Global Read Aloud selection, A Boy Called Bat. In case you're not familiar with her, though, this is a great place to start. In the summer of 2021, a teen named Nora travels to France to let go of one of her last possessions, a cylinder containing her mother's ashes. After traveling the country, she ends up in the woods, taking refuge from a malicious stranger in a dark holloway. When she wakes up, it's no longer 2021. Alana K. Arnold weaves a visionary story that follows Nora as she journeys through time and faces death, loss, fear, and uncertainty, and finds a way to honor her mother while healing herself. This book has already received some starred reviews and is praised for its authentic autism representation and handling of generational trauma, the pandemic, and anti-vax parents with deafness and compassion. Next slide. This one I know is going on my personal wish list. We have a gorgeous deluxe edition of Veronica Roth's Divergent. This is an exciting way to bring a new generation of readers to this amazing series, perfect for fans of The Hunger Games. Next slide. My personal favorite genre. First up, we have Monster Monarch Maiden. I love Rae Carson for her magical worlds and smart girl characters, and this latest is no exception. Monster Monarch Maiden is a rich fantasy filled with an irresistible feminist voice, beautiful writing, and a slow burn romance that will appeal to both old and new fans. Rhea isn't supposed to be a hero. She's just a mountain girl with a useless gift. But when she loses everything in an attack on her family's inn, she joins forces with a moody, secretive stranger to take on a perilous quest. This one was unputdownable. Something we unfortunately learned when we as staff only got half of the manuscript at a time and had to wait very impatiently to see how the story ended. Luckily, for you and your readers, this is a standalone, so there'll be no cliffhangers during your reading journey. Author R.J. Valdeperis has called the book Their Will Undone a coming of rage. So you know it's going to be great. Inspired by Incan folklore, this duology opener follows a young maiden chosen to marry the emperor. That is, until she falls in love with her escort to the palace and discovers the magic within her that could change her destiny. This book is perfect for fans of Tahara Mafi's This Woven Kingdom series. And if you're too impatient to start a duology without the second book readily available, we have Libertad, which is the conclusion to the epic pirate duology from Cassandra James. Our hero Jimena now sails under the banner of the legendary pirate Gasparilla, alongside her sister. But the Empire's renewed efforts to stamp out piracy bring her back to the orbit of her longtime rival Cazador. Can she trust him? Will she be able to save the people that she loves? Next slide. Stepping Up follows Kiara as she leaves her home in Washington Heights for an elite and mostly white boarding school. She becomes a part of the competitive STEP team as she tries to find her place as an Afro-Dominican student in this new world. But when tragedy strikes, she realizes exactly what it means to be a student in Andover. Kiara needs to discover how to use her voice to step up for herself and her friends. This graphic memoir is perfect for fans of Almost American Girl and will have strong appeal to 7th and 8th graders as well as high schoolers. Next slide. We're thrilled to be bringing a powerful debut novel in verse featuring Native Hawaiian teen trying to piece together her fracturing family. Auli feels adrift, an unbeliever at church, growing further away from her best friend and never seeing eye to eye with her sister. She turns to songwriting and journaling to help her feel grounded, as well as Saturdays spent with her Native Hawaiian community. When she learns an uncomfortable truth about her father, however, even this part of her life is shattered. With a touch of romance and a heavy dose of emotion, this debut is ideal for fans of the Poet X. And Jeff Zettner has once again partnered with Brittany Calavaro to bring us a romantic contemporary novel in verse about a life-changing road trip. Sylvie comes from a place of privilege that she just wants to leave behind. She embarks on living the van life after high school with her dog by her side. But when a stranger named Knox rescues her dog, she offers him a ride and it changes everything. Both teens have their secrets, but if they open up to one another, they just might find a chance at true connection. Their previous collaboration, Sunrise Nights, received 4-starred reviews and was called a knockout by Emily Henry, so you know this title is going to be another winner. Next slide, please. And speaking of another winner, the all-star team behind Blackout and Whiteout brings us a new story in which a group of elite teens are heading out on spring break, but not all of them are coming back. A freak tropical storm crashes their luxurious resort vacation in Florida. But they also weren't prepared for the mounting collection of dead bodies, including one of their own. This thriller begs the question, is it possible to outrun the worst thing you've ever done? As you can see, we have a bunch of amazing creators in this one, so definitely add it to your TBR. Next slide, please. Rajani Lavaka can do it all, whether that's winning a Newbery Honor, writing beautiful picture books, or now capturing authentic teen voices. Sia was just 10 years old when her mom died in a car accident. Now she tries to honor her mother's legacy by joining the mock trial team. But between falling for the team's co-captain and a case that is eerily similar to her mother's own life, crash together until Sia isn't sure what she thinks anymore. This contemporary reimagining of Sita's story from the Ramayana attempts to answer the question, does the truth matter if nobody believes it? And next slide. We have some more contemporary YA for you, starting with Shards of Silence. Derek knows that his scholarship to an elite East Coast boarding school is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Leaving his friends and family behind in New Mexico is tough, and it gets even more difficult when he's balancing sports, school, and comments from classmates about his native heritage. During a phone call with his great-grandmother back home, he discovers the truth behind her hesitation about him going to school, her own history with the federal boarding schools. He chooses to untangle her fading memories and bring her voice into the future as part of his term paper, changing himself in the process. You may recognize Young's name. He's the author of middle grade favorites, Healer of the Water Monster, and Heroes of the Water Monster, and this is his young adult debut. He brings the same thought-provoking approach to his teen writing that resonates long after the book is finished. Francesca Zappia's Eliza and Her Monsters was one of my personal favorites during my time as a librarian, so I'm really excited to have a standalone companion from the same world. In Evie and Her Nightmares, Evie seeks solace in an online role-playing game after the death of her best friend. But despite the friendship and even romance she finds there, online life can't sustain her. This novel is sure to resonate with teens who are increasingly building community online and is filled with illustrations from the author, perfect for reluctant readers and fans of Rainbow Rowell. The Vacation Shift, we'll end with some swoony romance here, is new from Lily Chu. It's a rom-com that brings Ivy and her newly divorced mom on a road trip in Tokyo. Aside from the broody Mateo and his dad, the rest of the group is pushing 80, so Ivy doesn't have a ton of hope for having a fun summer. But when Mateo's dad and Ivy's mom start to get close, the kids form a plan to keep them apart, and their own partnership takes on a new life. And more summer lovin', two teens decide to fake date while spending the summer at the lake. Maya used to love this annual vacation, but now she can't avoid Rashida, her former best friend and unrequited love. Gabe has no desire to spend the summer outdoors, but when she meets Maya, things seem a little more hopeful. The two start fake dating in order to make Rashida jealous, but things quickly get chaotic in this charming dual perspective romance. Next slide. And that is all for us.
All right. Thanks, Christina. And thanks so much to John, Gary, and Byron, and all of you for joining us today. As a reminder, these books are available for download on Edelweiss and NetGalley, and be sure to follow us on HarperStacks for more information on these great titles. Thanks so much, and I'll hand it back to Booklist.
Thank you so much, Mimi, and a huge thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. 150 years of empowering library professionals, advancing access to knowledge, and protecting the freedom to read. Since 1876, the American Library Association has embodied America's aspiration for knowledge and democracy, championing the professionals who make that promise real every day. Scan the QR code on the screen here or visit ala150.org to learn how you can join us in helping to shape the next 150 years of libraries. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and a huge thank you to our special guests, John, Gary, and Byron, and to our presenters and sponsor, the HarperStack team. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.